All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're cracking open a fascinating May 2026 hypothesis regarding the legendary Kryptos puzzle, specifically the Kryptos K4 method solution. Now, we all know the final section of this code has been a massive brick wall for decades, right? Well, a new approach suggests we might have literally been looking at it all wrong.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the Kryptos K4 mystery, then clues hidden in plain sight, and the sun stencil hypothesis. After that, we'll cover building the time machine, the hypothesized hidden message, and finally, the ultimate physical test. Section 1. The Kryptos K4 mystery. Okay, you already know the setup. The Kryptos sculpture is sitting right out there in the courtyard at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. 3 of its 4 sections have been solved, but that final section, K4, it has stubbornly resisted solutions from the CIA, the NSA, and even modern supercomputers since it was installed way back in 1990. I mean, that is roughly 35 years of pure frustration for the brightest minds in the world.
And what are they staring at? Exactly 97 visible encrypted letters. For the longest time, code breakers have been sitting at their desks trying to shuffle, math out, and digitally decode these 97 characters. But what if we need a paradigm shift? This new hypothesis argues something huge. Those visible letters might not even be the whole solving surface. We might need to step back and look at the much bigger picture.
Section 2. Clues hidden in plain sight.
Think about the first 3 solved sections, K1, K2, and K3. What if they aren't just random messages? What if they actually act as operational instructions for K4? Look at it this way. K1 brings in the concepts of light, shading, and hidden information. K2 introduces the Earth, magnetic fields, the underground, and a layer 2. Then K3 talks about an opening, light entering, and physical sight. The theory here is that K4 combines all of these elements into a timed, physical ground projection system. And the artist didn't just leave us text, right? We have massive physical clues for K4 staring right at us. You've got the S-shaped copper screen itself, the courtyard compass, and the decoded words east, northeast, and Berlin clock. Put all that together, and it strongly points to a physical field solve out on the actual CIA grounds, not just a text cipher you can crack on your laptop. Section 3. The sun stencil hypotheses. So this brings us to a really compelling idea put forward by Kevin L. Brown, who is a researcher, inventor, and author. Through a deep structural analysis, he proposes that K4 is actually a sun-stenciled ground projection system. Basically, the sculpture itself is part of the key. And the final answer? It might only appear when you perfectly combine sunlight, shadow, compass direction, and the actual ground plane all at once. Let's break down the optics of how this sun stencil mechanism would actually work. It's kind of like a giant, complex shadow puppet. First, the solid copper blocks the light. Second, the cutout letters transmit the light. And finally, those S-shaped panels create overlaps, openings, and shadow hinges. Because of this curved shape, the final output isn't going to be just one single ray of light shooting through one panel. Nope. It's likely a complex, projected pattern formed by several interacting light paths. So if we look at every physical element in that courtyard, it acts as a component of this giant projection machine. The courtyard compass gives the whole system its orientation. The word east-northeast marks the target direction, or the target quadrant. The physical sculpture itself is the stencil. The sun up in the sky acts as the moving clock. And finally, the ground is what actually receives the output.
Section 4. Building the time machine.
Now, you might be wondering about time. Remember that famous clue, Berlin clock? Under this hypothesis, Berlin clock acts as a time selector. It works closely with the courtyard compass direction. Specifically, the direction it points to corresponds to 2:15 p.m. on a clock face. And wouldn't you know it, that perfectly aligns with when the sun is positioned in the western sky. Picture yourself standing right there in the courtyard. If the sculpture faces south, sunlight can pass right through those curved S-shaped panels at that exact time of day. And when it does, it could cast a very specific shadow, or clean light paths, directly onto the ground, aiming straight in an east-northeast direction. Section 5. The hypothesized hidden message. Kevin L. Brown has presented a best-fit proposed message for those 97 characters. I have to emphasize, this is completely hypothesized. It is a candidate, not a proven fact. But here's what it says. Project the shadow lines. East-northeast, where clean light marks the ground. Berlin clock X marks the exact location. X. It's fascinating because it perfectly fits all the confirmed clue positions, and it reads exactly like a physical field instruction. But of course, the best confirmation of this is still going to be actual physical observation.
Which brings us to the core claim. And this is absolutely crucial, so I'm going to say it verbatim from the analysis. K4 may be a sun stencil ground projection system. The final answer may not be on the copper surface. It may appear on the ground.
Section 6. The ultimate physical test.
The beautiful thing about this idea is that it is testable with physical field observation. If a stable projected text, a route, or a target point appears on the ground only under the correct solar conditions, well, the model strengthens. If nothing meaningful appears under those specific conditions, then it fails. It's practically a science experiment.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. It's a total game changer for how we view this 35-year-old cold case. For decades, people have looked at the letters. This hypothesis says to look at the ground.